Welcome back to Pig's Ear Review here at the Tojo Dojo, one of the places where we're talking about what we've been playing and watching. I'm Myshtuff, joined by Riku Rose this evening. How's it going?
I'm good, thanks, mate. You?
Good. Sorry, this morning, not this evening. It's like 10:30 in the morning. I don't know where I am.
That's why we're going to be very tired and talk very slowly.
I've been up all evening playing games. I just can't stop. So this week we're going to be talking about a few fairly bigger releases. So you're going to be talking about Hogwarts Legacy, and then for me, I'm going to be doing a bit of a double whammy kind of combo discussion of Callisto Protocol and Dead Space Remake. I'll give you a quick spoiler per se. One of these games was a massive disappointment. I'll let you decide which one it is before we get to it. But yeah, it was interesting playing through these games. But yeah, lately a lot of games coming out. Got like 8 pre-ordered already for the next couple months. Yeah. So it's going to be a very busy time. Yeah, so I guess I'll hand it over to you to start talking about Hogwarts Legacy.
Hogwarts Legacy. Possibly the biggest release of the year so far, I think.
One of, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. Don't know about you. I think you've always said you're like, same as me.
I've watched the movies. I mean, I think both of us were definitely peak age for when the books came out, and I think I read the first 2 and then really just did the movies. But other than that, not really.
I've more experienced it through my wife because she loves it. Like, I've read all the books, I've read all the movies. I went and saw the play, done the theme parks.
Oh yeah, I went to Universal. Yeah. That's right. Yeah,
did the studio tour in England because she wanted to do that while we were there. So it's been a weird franchise for me because, as I said, I'm like, it's not bad, but it's not great to me.
Yeah,
but I've experienced pretty much all of it.
Right.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, it's like osmosis, even by culture, because like my wife was the same way for the longest time, where she definitely loved it and did all the the websites for like what house are you in, all that kind of stuff. But then even if that's not your thing, it's just so part of like culture now of just those characters. So
and as someone who's like very ingrained in like nerd culture, pop culture, and stuff like that, it's always weird that there's those things that are beyond huge that you're sort of like about.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
You just don't care,
Yeah. Exactly.
So I saw the trailers for this game though, Hogwarts Legacy, and it's probably the most excited I was for anything Harry Potter ever.
I remember how you described it. You said it looked like a different game that you like as well.
Yeah, Bully, right? Yeah. It looked like Bully, but like with instead of slingshots, you have wands.
Yeah, right.
Which I loved Bully back in the day, and I'm not a big one for we need a sequel to everything, but I'm kind of a bit sad that Rockstar pretty much are just doing like GTA Online now.
Right, exactly.
So I was excited for this, and I think I'm going to complain a lot about this game when I review it, but it's one of those games that I do enjoy it up front. It is a good game, all right? Yeah. But I have got some issues with it, which are going to make it sound like I hate this game when I explain them.
Okay, fair. Let's hear it.
So I'm about 6 hours in. Now, nearly every mission I've done has been a tutorial for one of the side activities or mini games you can do.
Okay.
And I'm sure you've experienced this in like big open world games before, that they're so obsessed with getting you to try every single thing in this game just to bleed out every single minute of it because they want you to just commit hours upon hours upon hours to this game.
Yep.
You'll do it like, we're going to potions class. Oh, if you go and get your own potions, you can do this and blah, 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 blah. Okay, right, I don't really care about potion mixing because I get enough potions just walking around picking them up off enemies anyway. Right. What next? Herbology class. Okay, right, let's go.
Well, okay, that's kind of like, I think I mentioned this when we were talking about God of War. The idea of like crafting and skill trees has pervaded every aspect of games in the last like 5 to 10 years, where in places where it's not needed or they've overdone it so much that it's just like overwhelming and you're having to manage like, in my inventory, I have like 800 leaves and rocks and like components that I need to like mash together. And it's like, all right, I don't need all this.
Yeah. But this is it. Is I don't need to do this stuff. I've
Yeah.
pretty much mainlined the story for the most part, and there's the odd time where they're like, you have got to go do this side quest to get this certain spell, so you can do the main mission. And until you do
Mhm.
that, it's locked, right? You got to do that. You got to get the one where you can like shoot fire.
Mhm.
In which case, I'm like, well, why isn't that like part of the main quest anyway? Why make it side quest? But okay,
All
guess
right.
I'll go do it. Right.
Yeah.
Um, and this is it. Is I really just want to play the main game, and that's the issue I have with open world games in general.
Right.
Is
Just leave
like,
me alone.
yeah, like let me just play the game.
Yeah.
Don't try to distract me.
Right.
Right, it's like shaking keys in front of a baby's face. It's like,
Yeah.
what it feels like.
Well, especially in open world games, and I don't know if this is what you're getting at. Like a lot of the times, it's so front loaded with making you try everything that
Mhm.
it's like tutorial after tutorial, and it'll be like 3 hours of tutorials, and it's just let me find it naturally as well. Like it just like cut it out.
Yeah, and there's just too much in this game as well.
Yeah.
I have uncovered like 20% of the map.
Hmm.
And I've got no, unless the story takes me there, I have no eagerness to just go explore every forest and every cave and every little town.
Is it only with? So is the map just Hogwarts and the surrounding area, or
Yeah, because there's like the town they go to, Hogsmeade, which is
yeah,
like what the theme park's based on, and like they go there in the movies and stuff like that. And then there's
Diagon
like the
Alley?
Forbidden Forest and
Yeah,
like and that's it. Is like I don't care enough to just go explore all these little nooks
sure,
and crevices and things like that, right?
sure, sure.
So unless the story's taking me there, I'm not going there. I just don't care enough. I don't want to go collect 20 jumping mushrooms and Wagon Wall or whatever the fuck they call this shit.
Right. Yeah.
I've got enough potions. Don't need any more.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm good. Hmm.
Yeah. Um, Also, as well, this game is far too busy with the menus.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. When you press start, there's like 10 options. Do you want to go in your gear? Do you want to go in your
Oh
collection?
no.
Do you want to go in the missions? Do you want to do this? To the point where it's just so over the top and like messy.
Yeah, it's just
So
overwhelming.
then, like, you go in your gear. Well, there's 6 sections, right? Well, what about this? And then you got 15 robes, right? Okay, right. What the fuck? Like, well,
That's what happened with me with Deathloop. It was so overwhelming that I just stopped playing it. I couldn't do it anymore. It was terrible.
yeah. Every single time I beat a quest, it's like, oh, you leveled up, you got a talent point. Oh, and you got this gear, and you should check your collections because you just met a new marker. Oh, and also there's a new quest over here you should do. And I'm like, whoa, okay.
Let's just pump the brakes here.
I literally just walked past a ghost.
And suddenly the world is unlocked
Yeah,
now.
let's calm down. Let's not get too excited, okay?
Yeah,
What am I
yeah.
doing next, right?
Hmm.
And literally every room you go in, or every enemy you beat, you get some kind of gear. I
Hmm.
went through a cave and I changed my outfit and gear about 15 times. And I know we live in this like PS5 SSD era where load times aren't a big issue, but
Yeah.
it is still annoying to go, right, press start, go to my gear, change my glasses. Okay, they look ridiculous. I now have
Hmm.
the eyes of an owl. So I got to press square to make that disappear. So I still have the gear, but it's not visible on my character because I don't want a serious cutscene where I'm wearing a dressing gown in a cave with owl eyes and a gold scarlet scarf. Like, okay,
That does seem a bit odd.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
I was like, okay, it's just too much. It's too
All right.
much.
Yep.
And then there is also the fact that when they talk like they're in a video game.
Like just very back and forth, like not natural or
So not just that, but it does. I don't know when this happened in video games. I want to say Mass Effect,
hmm.
where apparently now every conversation has to happen over the shoulder of one person,
Hmm.
and then it cuts back to the over the shoulder of the other person. There's no,
Oh, I see what you mean.
there's no, like I think like The Last of Us and games like that do it well, where it actually feels like you're watching like a movie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like camera angles matter in
Right. It's
scenes; they can make or break a
cinematic.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think of the beginning of Saving Private Ryan, right? And if it was just over his shoulder the entire time, and every and then every time someone screamed, it cut over their shoulder, and
Yeah,
it wouldn't work,
I
right?
see what you mean. Got it. Got
But
it.
then also as well, I literally laugh because you want this to be like a Harry Potter movie, right?
Sure.
And this wizard's like, oh, to pass this, you must do 4 trials.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's very video gamey.
Sure. Well, okay, but it is a video game though. So I mean, what kind of so you are wanting that more movie cinematic style experience
Yeah,
then?
it's kind of what you think. You want to be in that Harry Potter world, right? Uh,
Well,
maybe,
yeah, but if that's the case, then go back and play the old Harry Potter games that came out, right? Because that's more in line with that.
yeah, but like when we play like Marvel Spider-Man, the Spider-Man game that like came out on
Yeah.
PlayStation a few days ago, right?
Hmm.
Doc Ock at no point just looks in the camera and goes, "If you want to help me, you best construct 3 new web shooters."
Yeah.
You know what
Okay.
I'm like?
Yeah,
That's
I see
what
what you mean.
it just seemed a bit like. Okay, this is definitely a video game I'm playing right now, and
Right.
even the cutscenes are talking as if it's a video game.
Sure. Okay. I can see what you mean by that. Then that's fair. That's
Yeah,
fair.
it. I think they could have like worded it better and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So writing could just use some work. So, okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
I am enjoying the game overall though.
Hmm.
It is very well made. Um, there's been the odd student walking through a wall, which I think,
No, that's just magic.
yeah, which I didn't know that was it. I was like, oh, is this a magic hallway?
Is this part of yeah?
But I did
This is like
legit,
the one game where you could get away with like saying like no 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 that's supposed to happen.
yeah, and it is quite cool. Like you're walking down the hallways, and then there'd just be a ghost like randomly bullying a student or something. It's just, but it feels natural, and I'm sure it's all
Sure.
scripted in a way and stuff. But you're
Yeah.
just walking between missions, and
Hmm.
it does feel like you've just walked into something random. There'd be like a
Yeah.
kid and their books explode or something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I'm
Sure.
sure if you wander around for 100 hours, you see the same thing 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. I'm
Who
sure.
knows? Maybe you don't. Maybe the game remembers and doesn't replay stuff, which would be cool. But that aspect's really fun. The whole
Hmm.
it's ironic because I hated school when I was actually there, but
Yeah.
I enjoy this aspect of like being there at a school. There is no like day and night system like there was in Bully,
Okay.
because one of the fun things about Bully was like I think you had like a schedule,
Hmm.
and you could like sneak out and not go to class, but then you had like
Sure.
teachers looking for you and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Whereas this just seems, I don't know, I've never thought Hogwarts was a good school,
Yeah. It's a little
but
odd.
yeah, they seem very loose with attendance
And
because
then
I just,
throwing kids into horribly dangerous situations.
well, this is it. Is you're a guy? They're in their 5th year, and it's like this is their first year at Hogwarts. They're like, it's very weird, like someone only finding out their magic in their 5th year, right?
Hmm.
Um, so in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be well behind everyone else in class, right?
Sure.
That's why I've got to learn everything. But all everyone talks about is how fucking great you are.
So you're like the chosen one kind of
Yeah.
story. Like, I mean, that's kind of what Harry Potter was as
And
well.
there's this teacher who's legit is like, oh, I need you to get in this life threatening situation for me while I go to a meeting.
Yeah, be right back.
Yeah. He's like, can you go in the cave with all the trolls that will like smash your face in?
I'm just
I
trying to
got,
do. I'm
yeah,
just trying to do algebra homework.
yeah, I got parents' evening.
Like, what is this?
Yeah,
Oh my god,
but
that sounds great.
yeah, I'm giving, as I said right at the beginning, I am enjoying this game, right? And it
Sure,
did sound like I was gonna like say like I was hating it or whatever.
sure,
Overall, it's
sure.
enjoyable. I don't think it's fantastic. Like, I don't think scores are very sensible. But when we came out, there were like a lot of nines and things like.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that good. I
Hmm.
don't think it's that good. But it is fun. It is
Sure.
good. I unless you're like absorbed in Harry Potter in some way, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
Um, but if you even have just like a passing interest in the series, if
Hmm.
you somewhat enjoy it, I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah, it's a game I'd probably consider at some point if the game or if this year wasn't already stacked with releases. It seems like it would be fun enough. But I guess really quick for the story itself, it takes place like well before the movies, right?
Yeah, it's like
Basically.
150 years before.
Okay. But there is so I mean, so what is this like the overarching story though? Is there some like threat you're trying to go after, or it's more just
It's you're a
yeah?
student who can see ancient magic, and not
Hmm.
many people can see ancient magic.
Okay.
So you're investigating the ancient magic, and
Hmm.
yeah.
That's it. Okay. What? Oh wait, what house were you sorted into?
You can pick what one you want. So, like that hat asks you a few questions. He's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
do you hate like just people that are different to you? Are you a racist?" And you're like, "No." And he's like, "Well, we won't put you in Slytherin then."
Do you like talking to snakes?
Yeah. It's like, have you ever done those BuzzFeed quizzes where it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what Batman villain are you? And then you're like,
Right.
oh, okay, let's do this. This would be fun. It's like, do you like riddles or do you like dressing up like a clown? And you're like,
Do you like being in negative 50-degree weather all the time? No reason.
or do you like having your entire face not burned?
Right. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
There's a little bit of leading the witness, I'm sure, but
yeah.
okay, that's cool. I mean, do you know if that really affects much other than like where you hang out, I guess, or
Yeah, so my wife is playing and she's in a different house, right?
ooh, bad
And
blood.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Do you? I bet there's girls that are like, oh, I won't date anyone unless they're a Gemini. So I'm sure there's like in the Harry Potter world, there's like, oh, that's such a Hufflepuff thing.
It worked out where even though I didn't care that much, like I did take those quizzes with my wife, and funny enough, coincidentally, we both landed in Slytherin.
Oh, really? Oh, you're both Nazis.
We're both racist Nazis apparently. So,
I would just kick those kids out of school.
yeah, just get out. Look, if you
Yeah,
that's
the
just
most.
like a red flag right there.
Yeah.
Just get,
No, I'm Gryffindor, and then the wife was in Ravenclaw.
mm-hmm,
And we were talking about it because I'm like, oh, I don't want to just watch you play the game
mm-hmm.
and have it ruined for me. And we've been
Sure.
talking about it, and there are missions that are different.
Okay,
So
that's
like
cool.
the house ghost in Gryffindor was like, oh, can you come help me with this or whatever? I was
Yeah.
like, okay. And then my wife's like, oh, what part are you up to? And I was like, oh, I'm doing this hunt with a ghost. And she was like, what?
What are you
I did.
talking
And I
about?
was like, oh, am I further ahead than you? But she was actually further ahead than me.
Oh,
But
interesting.
but the way we got to that point was different
Well, that's cool.
because she was like, "Oh, like a house elf took me there."
That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
Okay.
rather than the go, and it was just random things like she was watching me play it because she had already played it, and
Mm-hmm.
she was like, some conversations were different. Like with because I was a Gryffindor, they were talking about like bravery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She said just the way certain sentences were phrased was different.
Interesting. Okay, well that's cool though. There's different options and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm gonna assume that there's probably just one ending, maybe, or
I assume so. There's,
yeah,
as far as I can tell so far,
yeah,
there's no sort of like morality system in place.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah, there's never been a point where they're like, "Oh, do you want to straight murder this guy?" Or like,
yeah, exactly. But
Um,
seems like there's still enough experiences to differ per person, which is cool.
well, in the first half hour as well, I think they effectively tease a sequel because the headmaster is like, "Oh,
Mm.
Quidditch this season is cancelled." Right, and I'm like,
Oh,
okay, so Quidditch is probably going to be in the next game.
yeah. I could see there. I don't know if they do like DLC or anything for this
Mm.
game, but they could add that in, I suppose. But yeah, well, I mean, this definitely seems like a series if doing well, which clearly
Oh
I
yeah,
think it has. Yeah, of course, there's going to be potential for another one. It's an open world game. Of course, they're going to make another one. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But no,
Okay.
I'd give it a thumbs up. I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah. It's crazy how it seems like it has been pretty. I mean, it's not that surprising. This property always does well for the most part. So,
I don't
yeah,
know.
it seems
Those Fantastic Beast movies.
well, sorry, commercially well, maybe not critically. Well, I think those
No,
did
no,
well.
no,
I don't
no.
remember.
They flopped. That last
Oh,
one.
really?
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
last
they
one lost money.
critically they were shit. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought they were
Hmm.
terrible, but or at least the last one was. But Okay, if it commercially flopped, then maybe they're taking a break for a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, it was meant to be like 5 movies, and they don't think they were even going to make the fourth one
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, which I'm fine with. That's okay. We don't need any more. But that's cool though. Yeah, I might consider it later in the year, maybe if it goes on sale or something. Because it's even though I'm not, yeah, like you're saying, I'm not like the biggest fan of it. It seems like it's a well-made game that would be fun
Mhm.
to play. So
Yeah.
nice, nice. Okay,
All right, over to you.
all right. So let me start off this conversation by saying, have you ever like seen a trailer for a game or like an announcement for a game that you were super hyped with, and then it came out, and then you played it and wondered what the fuck happened and were just utterly disappointed? Has it ever happened to you?
You asked me that, and we were both fans of Shenmue and played Shenmue 3.
That's a good point. I've already blocked that out of my memory.
Yeah. That'll come up in therapy a few years from now.
Yeah. That's still a repressed memory for right now. Yeah, so that basically happened with Callisto Protocol, unfortunately. So to
Yeah.
rewind the clock a little bit, I think it was a year ago, maybe a little bit more. Callisto Protocol kind of came out of nowhere with a trailer, and immediately everyone was like, "Holy shit, is this another Dead Space? Like, what is this?" But then they
Hmm.
announced it, and no, it's more. It was more like a spiritual successor. Um,
Well,
and
the
if
guy,
I'm
the guy who made Dead Space made that as well, right?
I can't remember the guy's position or whatever, but I believe the head of the studio that makes Callisto Protocol used to be one of like the co-creators of the original Dead Space, or like was the art director.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, heavily involved. I don't know what the exact position was, but yeah, like there's DNA there for sure from Dead Space. So with more trailers coming out, it looked like, damn, that we're finally getting more Dead Space, because really, I'll talk about the remake here in just a second, but really, other than if you have it on computer, the only way to play Dead Space for the longest time was still on the 360 and PS3. But then I think you even reminded me, like, they may be available on Game Pass now for one of them or something like that. But essentially, for the longest time, they were basically locked to that generation unless you had it on PC, so,
Hmm.
which is a shame because I happen to really love the Dead Space games. I think you said you're like kind of lukewarm on them, right? Like, you're
I
like,
played
they're
the
okay.
first one, and I don't know if I went in after because I played it like a year or two after it came out, and everyone was like,
Yeah.
"Game of the year, game of the year," and I was like,
Mm,
"It's okay, it's good."
sure.
And it was to the point where I was like, I enjoyed it, but not enough to play a sequel of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, I happen to like horror a lot and like that kind of sci-fi too. So, yeah, I mean, it's obviously not for everyone, which is understandable. But a lot of people clearly really liked it, and they did make some sequels. Um, but yeah, so then Callisto Protocol got announced, and like I said, people were excited. And then coincidentally, I don't know if this was planned or not, that's when EA said, "Huh, let's remake Dead Space." And then I think literally within a month or two after that original announcement, they said that, and they started showing like an initial
well,
concept work
they
and
must have
trailer.
been like working on it like beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it may have just been really like bad timing or coincidental timing. Who knows what the real story is? But literally, like almost in parallel, essentially, they
Hmm.
were both announced. And then also, Callisto Protocol came out in December of last year, and then the Dead Space remake came out last month. So they released within about a month of each other as well, which that I have to imagine was probably planned. But once again, who knows? But either way, Callisto Protocol, from what I could tell, was gearing up to be another Dead Space game, and everything looked great. And then it came out, and I didn't buy it at launch or like within pre-ordered or whatever. But
Hmm.
there's a couple of YouTubers who I watch who I really like their opinions, especially on like sci-fi horror type of games, and across the board they were like, what happened with this game? Like, they were saying like something did not quite go right. Like, they said it was playable, but the criticisms they were putting towards it, I was like, is it really that bad?
Hmm.
And the main criticisms were the controls, and I think to some extent like the lighting in certain areas, which is weird. So to kind of elaborate, okay, Callisto Protocol, there's a dodge mechanic. I mean, it is like Dead Space where like it's over the shoulder, it kind of exploring, shooting shit, whatever. But there's a dodge mechanic in this game where it, the best way you could describe it is you get locked into an enemy, and it's almost like you're in a boxing match. Like, I swear to God.
Right. Okay.
So it's not just like you have free reign to keep moving. You're literally like locked in, squared up with them, and you have to dodge. But the thing is, the timing of how you dodge is just so poorly implemented that it, like, if you get surprised by it, you're like immediately fucked every single time. Like, you have to be damn near
Mm.
perfect to catch it. Otherwise, you're gonna get hit, and then you have to like rinse and repeat until you kind of like dodge and hit them. And so that in itself, it was horribly implemented. What makes it worse is if you're ever in a room with more than one enemy and they're like trying to surround you, you may as well just restart the checkpoint because you're fucked. Like, you can't accurately like escape the situation unless you're super lucky or maybe positioned in a really well kind of spot, because otherwise you're trying to like dodge, but the other person, and you can't move, but the other person is trying to hit you, and it's just a disaster every single time.
It's weird because Dead Space wasn't like that, and the guy who
No.
made Dead Space made this. So
Correct.
how
Yes.
is it when you're like playtesting this game, even like a year or two ago, you don't
Yes.
go, you know what? This system doesn't work as well as the one we created over a decade ago.
Exactly. Yeah, it, to me, it seems like there was either no quality testing or it was too late to implement the change by the time they got the feedback, because every reviewer says that this system is garbage. It is so poorly
Yeah.
implemented that it literally hinders the game, which is a shame. So, and I guess let me step back really quick. So the main story, it's nothing crazy. It's, you're like a kind of like a what's it called, like a courier, where you're shipping stuff back and forth to places, and then you basically get marooned on sort of like this planet because of an attack or whatever, and you're in this prison, and you basically just have to escape the prison, and there's all these enemies. The story's really not that complicated, which is fine. It's not a big deal. The graphics in this game, so I played this on PS5 as well as the Dead Space remake. The graphics on this game, I will say, are incredible. Like, they
Hmm.
look unbelievably good. So I will say that's a huge positive. They have some good actual actors and voice actors. So the main guy is, I don't know if you know this actor by name, Josh Duhamel, or Duhamel, I think is how you say
Name
his
sounds
name.
familiar.
It's been a little while since he's been in some mainstream movies, but if you saw him, like, you would know who he is. Like, I forget the last one he was in, but he
It's
was.
got the lady from the boys as well, hasn't it?
I th- I haven't. Oh, I haven't seen that yet, so I'm not
Oh, okay.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
think it's her.
maybe.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's a couple other somewhat well-known actors and voice actors. Either way, they do a great job with that. So, like, that part is great. Like, the visual presentation of this game is good, but then that's where my other complaint comes in. This game is so effing dark. Like, yeah, I know it's supposed to be creepy and whatever and like scary, but I literally couldn't see half the time. Like, even I, at some point, I just had to crank the brightness all the way up, and like, I have 20/20 vision. I'm pretty good about this. Like, I don't usually have difficulties with this kind of stuff, but I had to crank the brightness all the way up, and even then, I couldn't see half the time. And I'm like, okay, am I just getting old? Are my eyes going? What the hell's going on here? It was so dark, which was not good.
It was a feature, you just don't understand it.
Yeah, clearly. Sorry. I clearly just didn't understand the vision. So that was annoying. And then, actually, going back to what we were saying a second ago about something being a video game versus not. Okay, this is gonna might take a little bit of explaining, but you know how when you're playing more platformer kind of games, usually, if done well, yes, there's a main path you need to follow, but yes, there might be like side avenues and stuff that you could explore. But usually in a video game, if you have those side rooms and areas you can go to, they're usually incentivizing you to do that because there's something hidden there, like
Hmm.
an upgrade or a costume. There's some reason why you're going down this
Hmm.
extra hallway here, usually. This game was barren. Because I
Oh.
usually do that. Like, I try to explore, like, what else is there to see here, because I'm hoping I'm going to unlock something. I don't think there was a single time when I went down an alternate pathway where there was anything worthwhile. It was always barren and empty.
Yeah, in which case you maybe just make it very short to the point that you can see it from where you're standing anyway, or something.
Right.
I mean, the only time I can think of where that's worked is you didn't play the Guardians of the Galaxy game.
No. Mm-mm.
No. So there was like a section where I started like, you can go left or right, and Rocket's like, come on, Quill, we got to go left.
Yeah.
And I went right. He went, why are you going that way? And he's just yelling at you. And you get to the end and there's nothing there, and you start coming back, and Rocket goes, "What were you doing? You just ran to the end, there was nothing there, and now you're running back like an idiot."
But at least there's something there like that to make you
that's
laugh,
funny.
right?
Yeah, there's a point to that.
Yeah, exactly. So to contrast that, I know I haven't talked about Dead Space too much yet, but in the Dead Space remake, I guess maybe that's just how I play a lot of these games. Is anytime it tells you to go left, I always go right because there's usually a reason. In this remake, and I think it was like this in the original, yeah, there is loot everywhere, like credits, ammo, upgrades. Like I always am doing that, and it benefits you, and you make the game more fun, and you get, like I said, all these upgrades and stuff. Callisto Protocol, none of that. Um, and like I'm just this game is just baffling to me how it got this far and was such a massive fuck up. Like the lighting, I guess I can forgive. The emptiness, I suppose I can forgive. But just the controls were trash. Like the even just trying to switch guns was clunky. Like I couldn't just switch a gun easy enough. Like because it was so slow, and I had to like hold 2 or 3 buttons at times. Like oh my god, dude, this game was a disaster. Like I'm just baffled. I'm like so confused how a game of this caliber that looks incredible and with this kind of like DNA of that Dead Space legacy of the people who are behind it drop the ball this hard. Like, because I thought reviewers were exaggerating with this game, but no, it's just not good. Like this game sucks, and that's why I was asking you in the beginning. Like, I was so hyped for this game, and it just completely failed. And they're coming out with DLC apparently. There's like a season pass, and I'm like, I mean, unless you completely revamp the game, why would anyone buy this?
I mean, you kind of when you do like season passes and announce DLC before the game's even out, you kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Exactly.
Like because we've already seen reports about how this game really underperformed.
Yeah.
But people have paid money now towards DLC that you've promised them. Like you've got to, and that's got to hurt
right.
because as a studio, you're just like, we're just losing even more money now.
Right, and the morale must not be great. I mean, I think to be fair, I think it still did okay. It definitely didn't meet expectations for sure, but I mean, I think enough people were hyped by this that they, pre-ordered it, but I'm just baffled. So like I guess on one hand, I think there is a good talent in the studio. I think they can I would be interested to see a sequel, but they have to completely fix this combat system and just flesh out the game a little bit more.
What was the name of that game that we got posted in our Discord? It was saying like the day before or something, that zombie game.
Yeah.
And everyone's like ragging on how it looks, right? The gameplay and stuff. And I said in our Discord at the time is I don't understand why more studios don't look at other games that have done it right and then build off that.
Sure.
Rather than just it looks like they've made it from scratch.
Yeah.
Like as we said, Dead Space, I think it's got to be 15 years old at this point.
The first one I think was 09, 08, 09, something
so
like
around
that.
10, 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But if I was making a survival horror type game, one of the first meetings you're going to sit around and go, right, what kind of game we making? This, okay. Let's get the whiteboard out. Let's list all the games that have done this well.
Sure.
And what are we going to take from them? What are we going to improve from them? What mistakes do they normally make? What should we avoid? What are the things people hate in these games?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, right? I don't think at any point when you're listing Dead Space, the Resident Evil 2 remake, things like that, people aren't going to be like, oh, the combat needs to be completely revamped.
Or right. If it ain't broke, scratch. Don't fix it.
Yeah, you might make tweaks here or there and stuff like that, right? But it sounds like they made this from scratch without referencing much of what was there before.
Well, but see, that's the tricky thing. Given that original creator was there, I honestly wonder if they took it a step further and said, no, we have to throw that away. Like, don't do that specifically and, like, make ourselves completely different. But, like, okay, if you're going to do that, make sure it's good. And they dropped the ball hard on this one.
Yeah. So it's weird because you, like, look at Death Stranding, right? And if you gave me 10 games and Metal Gear Solid 5 and Death Stranding were two of them and said which two games were made by the same person, like you could roughly guess Kojima made,
Sure.
both of them. They just, even though they're made in different engines and stuff, they have that similar feel to them.
Yeah, there's a core foundation to them for sure.
Yeah, and it seems weird that this wasn't there for this.
Yeah, exactly. So it sucks because this game was so close to being really good, but there were enough things that they dropped the ball on that I honestly got close to just stop playing about 3/4 of the way, but at that point it's only like a 9-hour game and like whatever, I'll power through it. Other than, I guess the last couple things I'll say about it is I think there's like a couple boss fights. They're nothing crazy, which whatever, it's fine, but they were a little underwhelming. The checkpoint system was pissing me off too because it kept saving. Like you would get to a checkpoint and then it would have the area for you to do some upgrades, and then I would move forward to fight somebody, and then I'd die,
And then
and it
have
would
to do your upgrades again?
Yep, it kept doing that every time, and I'm like, "This is stupid. Just let me." I swear to God, okay, there's a manual save feature in this game. It doesn't do anything. I'm pretty sure it's a lie. It just doesn't work because I tried doing that as well, didn't work. It just kept bringing me back to the auto checkpoints.
So it's like in Mad Men where they pretend to have a second floor.
Exactly. It's just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, this game, God. It was awful. I'm sorry. Like, it was so close. Like, that's the thing. It was so close to being good, but because they effed up so many times, it brought it back the overall experience to me. Just saying this was a terrible experience, which sucks. Like, I'm shocked that I got to this point. So, yeah, definite thumbs down for Callisto Protocol. Don't play this game, or if you are, wait till it goes on sale. I mean, I got it on sale, or I got like a good deal on eBay for it for like $50. No, sorry, $40. And even that was too much. I would say pay no more than 20 for this game, which it'll probably be that price here in another month or two. So just wait for that game.
Yeah, it'll probably end up on a Game Pass or a PlayStation Plus.
Probably at some point. So wait, yeah, you don't need to play this game right now, unfortunately. But as far as Dead Space remake, I guess I'll quickly talk about that one. So that game is unbelievable. I mean, like I said, I liked the first one quite a bit, but I think the reason why I'm saying it's so good is this is similar to like the Resident Evil remakes where they really like took the spirit of the original one, but that one was definitely more of a massive remake because even the gameplay style was different. With this, I mean, it's the same gameplay style, but why this one did an amazing job is so they tied in the lore a little bit to the rest of the games, like retroactively, because obviously in the sequels they expanded upon them, but in this game they brought some of that later lore to set it up back into this first game, which was really cool. Which is nice to like see that world get bigger and more understood. The other big thing is in the original, the main character Isaac doesn't have voice acting, but in this game, they brought back the voice actor for 2 and 3 to do dialogue now for this game, which was cool because like the intent of everything going on really isn't changing, but he didn't have dialogue in the first game, so they basically had to write dialogue to fit it in.
Normally like tragic stuff would happen and it'd be like, oh.
Yeah. Or just nothing. Just nothing. Just stare blankly, basically.
No.
Or a grunt maybe here and there.
I don't talk to myself, but if 10% of what happens to him in that game happened to me, I'd just be dropping F-bombs left, right, and center.
Well, he does. He does in this remake. He's definitely cursing here and there. So that was good to see. I will say what was also cool is so they streamlined the weapon upgrades a little bit more, so it's a lot easier with how you like plan out your upgrade paths and stuff. And then there's a couple of gameplay sections that they completely retool to just make them more fun. Like there was a couple clunky sections in the original that like there's one part, if I remember correctly, where you're literally in like a turret gun, like shooting asteroids, which was like very jarring where it kind of came out of nowhere in that game, but whatever, it was fun enough. But in this game, you are still shooting different asteroids in one part, but it's like you're using you're like floating in space and you're using your gun as the guide for the turrets, and you're like shooting them as if it would be your gun, but you're kind of like aiming the turrets. It's a little hard to explain, but it like fits in with how the game flows better than maybe what the original one did. So there's like a couple of retooled sections like that. I'm trying to think what else. I think they did add a secret ending that explains something a little bit more as well, which I just watched on YouTube because you have to do all kinds of crazy shit for it. But once again, it's tying the lore in more.
Remember the days where you had to collect everything to see
I
it,
know.
and you can
Yeah,
just go on
nah.
YouTube?
I ain't got time for that right
Yeah.
now. But the game plays incredibly. It's super smooth. Like I said, I'm playing on PS5. Plays great. Loading is quick. It's an amazing remake. Like I would say, in terms of like the last couple years of remakes, it's absolutely on par with like the Resident Evil remakes of how good it is. Where it's redoing things that people didn't like, kind of streamlining things, making the lore a little bit better. Obviously, it looks incredible. So, I mean, yeah, if you play the Dead Space original one, you're definitely going to like this one. This is for sure the definitive way to play this game, and it's actually a remake that's worthwhile, unlike maybe some other remakes that have been announced like recently. So,
Don't know what you mean.
I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, it's a great game. I'm sure it'll go on sale as well here in the couple months. Even, I mean, it's doing well, so maybe it'll take longer. But I would say definitely play this game. I don't know. I mean, I would say give it a shot, even for you, because I know you said the first one was just like okay. I think this one is it's just a more polished version of that, and I think it plays better. But obviously, if it's not your thing, I get it too. So
I enjoyed it. It was just one of those games, as I said, that I enjoyed it while I played it. Didn't think about it much ever since, you know. And it was perfectly fine. I can't think of much that I disliked about it.
Yeah.
But nothing jumped out at me as something I loved.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I mean, if it's just not your thing, it's not your thing. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Really, I wouldn't even say it's just not my thing. It's just it's not something that I loved. It was something that was
Or yeah,
okay.
it's just average. Yeah, or that's fair. That's fair. So I don't think they've said they're going to remake the second or third one just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, or at the very least, maybe modern ports, maybe like a remaster as opposed to like a full remake. I could see them probably doing that. But then again, if they did remake them, that would be good, because the second one, it was fine as well. That was more action, a little less horror. And then the third one was like a microtransaction nightmare, and the story was just okay. So maybe they'll retool them. But even if it's just this first one, that is good enough as well. I mean, it was a really well done remake. So I would say, yeah, definite thumbs up. Play this one, and I'd be curious to see what this studio is going to do next. I mean, not just EA, but I think it was a subsidiary within whatever EA owns. So I don't know if they're going to do more remakes or something original or whatever, but definitely a talented group of people. And I think this game, I remember reading as well, they got a lot of feedback from the community of like, hey, what parts of the old Dead Space did you not like? Do you want to, like, how can we retool things a little bit? And that's what actually went into them doing the remake, which was good. So.
I heard they're remaking the Callisto Protocol.
HD remaster coming out next year. Honestly, if they fix the controls, I'd consider it. Maybe they'll do better this time. So, yeah. So it's funny once again to summarize how like they were announced more or less back to back. They came out back to back. What people thought was going to be a shameless remake ended up being amazing, and what people thought was going to be a great new game ended up being a piece of shit. So, I guess don't judge a book by its cover is the moral of the story on that one.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So to summarize, Hogwarts Legacy, it sounds like thumbs up. Dead Space remake, definite thumbs up. Callisto Protocol, don't waste your money on that, or wait for a while if you're gonna bother to play it. So, but yeah, I think that'll do it.
Variety.
Yeah, a little nice sampling as well. But yeah, like I said, I've already got like 3 or 4 more games that I've already beat that I can talk about, and plenty more to come. So it's gonna be a busy few months. It's like a full-time job playing these games lately.
First world problems, eh?
I know, right? What a terrible life, unfortunately. So, if you played any of these games, let us know what you think down below. And until next time, we will catch you then. See ya.
Bye.